Sweaty Cup everyone, Kuruyuki here. So I had a few requests to talk about how to properly wrap your hands. Okay, now hand wraps can be used for a variety of reasons. I personally like to use them to bind my wrist because I have a little wimpy wrists. So I like to bind my wrists with them. My knuckles in particular don't generally need that much padding. It might be the years of conditioning when I was doing karate as a child, just hitting the bags bare knuckle for many years. And so for me personally, it's wrist, but everyone is different. Some people might prefer more padding on the knuckles. Some people prefer padding on the wrist. It's really up to you. It's very preferential, okay? Something to remember when it comes to hand wrapping is to know what kind of a hand wrap you have. So something to keep in mind is how long is your hand wrap? Okay, I personally like very long hand wraps where I think this is about 14 feet long, so that's something like 4 meters or so. And knowing the length of your hand wrap kind of dictates how you wrap your hands, because you can't be doing it the same way depending on if you have short wraps or long wraps, right? As well, you need to know the stiffness of your wrap as well. Is it elastic and does it stretch out a bit, or is it a very stiff material that doesn't have much give? I believe a lot of there's different varieties, but I know a lot of the basic Everlast type are very stiff. There's some Thai brands like Raja that's very stiff as well, that doesn't stretch out very much. So it's important to know what kind of hand wrap you have, okay? So we'll get started. This is a hand wrap technique that I learned. I didn't actually learn this in Thailand, but I learned it at a Muay Thai seminar, and I wrap my hands like this all the time in training and in fights. And this is an important note for the fighters. I prefer fighters to wrap their hands when they train, and to fight the same way unless the sanctioning body forces us to tape and gauze. But I don't know why you would train with hand wraps or not with no hand wraps, but fight with hand wraps or fight with tape and gauze. Doesn't make sense. You should fight the same way you train. So I think everyone should get practicing and be familiar with how to wrap your hands, especially the competitors, so that it's nothing new when it comes to fight day. So first thing you do is unwrap your hand wrap, unroll your hand wrap. It's all open like so. And the first thing you want to do is, starting at this end, you need to know which side is the right side up, okay? So generally when you see the stitching and whatnot, this is the underside and this is the top side. So I'm going to start with the top side through my thumb like so, okay? So I'm on the outside of my wrist, and because I like to wrap my wrists a lot for wrist bondage, I'm going to do about 5 rotations on my wrist like so, okay? And as you notice, I'm not concentrating my wrap in a single spot. I'm really stretching it out about 2 inches or so like so, okay? And from here, I'm going to transition, again, the wrap's on the outside of my wrist here. I'm going to transition to my knuckles. Okay, so I'm going over top, transitioning to my knuckles like so. 1, and then you'll notice that my fingertips are very spread out wide like so. I don't want to have my fingertips in close like so, because then I'm going to do a tight wrap job, and then when I try to spread my fingers, it's going to be harder to do. So I start with my fingertips nice and wide like so. 1, 2, 3, and from here I'm on the outside of my wrist again. I'm going under and over top, and now I'm on the inside of my wrist. Okay, from here I'm going between my fingers, whoop, like so, between my pinky and my ring finger, going over top, and then under my hand, like so, and doing the same thing to between my index and my middle finger. Okay, this just gives me a bit more bind with my knuckles when I do it this way. So here I'm going around and back on the inside, okay? Now this is a detail that not a lot of people do. This is the detail that I really like about this hand wrap, is most people, when they wrap their hand wraps are falling off and falling apart while they're training. So from here, I like to go in the middle between my middle finger and my ring finger, right here. And I like to tuck my wrap under all this material. So the 3 times I went around my knuckles, I'm tucking my hand wrap underneath like so, and I'm fishing it out. Whoop. nice and tight. There it is, right? So this is, you can wear MMA gloves and you're still hidden here, right? It's very tight. Your hand wraps, you're in there, they're never gonna fall off your knuckle. And I'm here, going over my knuckle just to get onto the outside again. And then because I like a lot of material on my wrist, I have all this excess material just to buy my wrist even more, okay? Now, if you want more knuckle protection, you could, instead of doing 3 times around your knuckles, you could do 5 times around your knuckles, no problem, up to you. Okay, so all I'm literally going to do is just finish up by going over my wrist several times and making sure it's nice and taut. Like so. Okay, so I have a nice strong wrist. I have a little bit of padding on my knuckles. It's nice and tight here. It's not gonna fall off my hand during training. And it's nice and tight. Boom.